Hello, welcome to mediation. My name is Steven.
Hi, I'm Lois.
Welcome to mediation.
Hi, Larry.
Larry? Okay, well, thanks for coming to mediation. I know it's mandatory, but I'm glad that you guys decided to come and actually participate. First, let me just explain some mediation guidelines. So, the purpose of mediation is to give the parties control over the issues. So, instead of a judge who doesn't know your children, your marriage, your property, or anything else about you guys, it'll be a good opportunity for you guys to actually decide what you want to do with your things and your children. Okay, so another thing I should mention is everything is confidential. I actually signed something that's saying that I cannot testify on anyone's behalf if you guys decide to exit mediation and go to court. Another thing is mediation is voluntary. At any time you guys can decide not to do this. You can end mediation at any time. Although the law does require that you try mediation, you don't have to participate. And also I'm impartial. I don't have any prior relationship with Lois, nor do I have any prior relationship with Larry. And I am neutral. I cannot decide issues for you. That's up to you two. I have no biases, so whatever you decide, you're going to implement. At some point in time, I may be required to caucus. A caucus is a meeting with one private party away from the other party. The caucuses are confidential, so anything that you say when we meet privately, I will not disclose, and vice versa. So we have some forms that you guys both signed. It was an agreement to mediate. And we also signed your asset forms, and so I know exactly what you have in the bank and what property you own and how much it costs. Okay, so before we get started, let's just go over some rules. Each person may speak uninterrupted. Each person agrees not to make remarks that are personal attacks. And sometimes I'm going to remind you of these rules, so don't take it personal. It's just part of the process. And I could call for a break, or Larry could call for a break, or Lois can call for a break anytime. Okay, and we already discussed fees before mediation, so I'll also talk about that at the end. Okay, so let's start. Alright, so Larry, can you tell me about your children? How many you have and their ages?
Yes, I have two children. Carrie is 13 years old, and John is 10 years old.
Oh, perfect. And can you tell me, Lois, about Carrie?
Carrie is an excellent student. She has really excelled academically, and so we're really proud of her. And our son,
John.
yes, John.
And Larry, can you tell me about John?
Yes, John has had trouble with medical issues throughout his life, so he's a little bit behind in school. He still reads at a 7th grade level, so he's working on it. He doesn't go to the doctors as much anymore. He used to have frequent visits to the doctor. Now he only goes a couple times a year, and we're hoping it gets less and less as he gets older.
Are you close with your children, Larry?
Yeah, I work a lot though, so I don't get to spend nearly as much time with them as my wife does.
And are you close with both children too?
Yes, and Larry has never taken our son to the doctor. I've always been the one that has taken him. He's never made time to take him to the doctor.
Is this true, Larry? You've never taken him?
Yes, I'm the sole financial income for the family, so
Yeah.
I have to deal with work, and she has to deal with more so the children's side.
Okay. Okay, so there's some things during divorce that we need to discuss that pertain to your children. The first one is residency. Lois, can you tell me, what do you think is best for your children? Where do you want them to reside?
I think right now, because they're not young and they're not little anymore, that they really have established themselves with school, and they're really comfortable in the home that they grew up in. It'd be really bad for them if we took them out of our home that they're so just used to. It's like they're the home that they grew up in, so I would like to keep them with me. I think it's best that they stay with me. They've always been with me. You know, they hardly ever saw their dad, so I just feel like it would be too damaging for them if they left.
Yeah, what do you think, Larry?
I don't feel like that's financially possible. I can't afford to pay for two homes of that size, so I feel like we should just sell the home and split whatever financial gain we get from it, and we both do what we can.
Okay, we're gonna get to the issue of actually the home, but where do you want the children to live? Do you want the children to live with you, or are you comfortable with them living with Lois?
I feel comfortable with them living with her, but I would like to have them on the weekends,
Every weekend?
every weekend, yeah.
And how do you feel about that, Lois?
Well, I mean, I don't feel comfortable with that because I don't see him being home right now actively every single weekend or making special time, so I don't really know how that's even going to work and if he's going to cancel
Okay.
or something or leave the children just, last minute, so.
Well, I feel like that's an issue we should address when that happens, if and when that happens. So I feel like I should be given the opportunity to have my kids over the weekends, every weekend, until it becomes an issue.
Alright, so let's talk. So the kids will be, let's get specifics. The kids will be with Lois Monday through Friday. And do you want the kids Friday evening or Saturday morning?
I want the children on Friday evening, but I also want to see my kids on Wednesdays during the week.
Okay, and are you okay with that, Lois?
Well, Saturdays he works from the office, so I don't understand how he's supposed to work from the office on Saturdays until the afternoon. So you're only gonna pick the kids up on Friday just to drop them back off after work?
Is this true, Larry?
That's the way it is right now, but obviously I'm going to have to make some adjustments if we get a divorce.
Besides Larry not being able to spend time with the kids, do you think he's capable of being a good father?
Yes, absolutely. I do. I just think that, we're here now and now the adjustments need to be made when they should have been made already.
Do you think do you think he can sacrifice for the kids?
I would hope so.
Do you think Carrie and John need their father?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So is there something that maybe he could take them on, maybe Larry could take the kids Saturday, and then Sunday, and if he proves you he's not working, and then maybe you can get a more concrete schedule?
Yeah, I mean, it's open if we agree to something and he sticks to it, absolutely. We have to do what's best for the kids and make sure that they have a routine schedule and not just something that fluctuates all the time, because they have to stick to a routine.
Okay.
Keep something stable.
Alright.
All this.
So I see we can agree on that. John and Carrie, they need Larry, and you think Larry's a good dad.
Yes.
So the issue is Saturdays. Is Larry not going to work, or is he going to spend time with his kids?
Saturdays, Larry needs to maybe pick him up after. Obviously, I don't mind keeping my children and we can work around that. They're getting older, they have more things to do after school and friends and things like that, so it's fine, just pick them up in the afternoon after he's done doing whatever he needs to do, and then we can adjust it later.
I completely disagree with that. I want my visitations to be on Friday evenings. I'm not picking my children up at 4:30 in the afternoon on a Saturday. I told you I will work things out. If it becomes an issue, then we'll deal with it then. Until then, it should not be a question.
Okay, well, let's hope so.
Okay, so we agree. Larry will pick up the children, John and Carrie, on Friday. So let's get more specifically. So where would Larry be picking the children up? Would you allow Larry access into your home?
I mean, if I'm not home, or I would have to be home, I'd have to pick up the kids, so.
Are you
Yes.
dropping the kids off at Larry's apartment, or would Larry be picking the kids up from residence? Are you comfortable with Larry
I'm
going to
comfortable with
residence?
him coming, I'm comfortable with him coming to the house or driving, depending on our schedules, meeting somewhere.
Okay. So we talked about where the kids were going to stay. We talked about where the kids are going to be picked up with. We touched on a weekly calendar. So lastly, it's kind of an important thing. Sometimes parents overlook this, but what about holidays? There has to be a way where it's fair for both parties. So, for instance, I don't know if you want to split it up to where maybe if you're Greek, Easter's a really important holiday for one party, but it's not for the other. Have you guys talked about that, Larry? Hold on, let Larry speak.
Sorry, Larry.
It's okay, it happens all the time.
We haven't talked about that yet, but I feel like that's something we should be able to work out if we just, obviously make a listing of all the holidays throughout the year and whether we alternate years to have kids. Like if she gets them for Easter this year, I'll get them for Christmas, or
Yeah.
and we'll just alternate holidays.
Okay.
Or we can do a split holiday where half the day for Christmas would be by her, the other half would be by me.
So, for instance, it's October.
Mm-hmm.
Lois, you have Thanksgiving and Christmas coming up. Where would you want the kids to be for Thanksgiving?
I mean, I would of course want my family to be together,
Mm-hmm.
being all of us. So it's kind of difficult to just say that I wouldn't want my kids with me because that's natural. So
Yeah, absolutely.
I would of course want the children with me. But I mean, our families, we do them at different times. His family does Thanksgiving during the day, like a lunch hour, and we do it in the evening, so it works out.
Okay. And you guys would be willing to do that, work together?
I am.
I think so too. And all these problems are common for, these aren't like special problems that you guys have. These are typical in divorces. Okay, so I think we have everything figured out with parenting. So let's move on to maintenance, or some people refer to it as alimony. And we'll start discussion with Larry. Larry, what do you want with alimony?
I don't want it to be overly extended. I don't want it to be past 2 years. I feel like that's a fair deal.
Okay.
I will pay for her to go through school for 2 years. I will pay for her schooling, and I will give her alimony for 2 years. Beyond that, I feel like I should not be required to pay anymore.
And Lois, did you hear Larry said that he's willing to pay for your school for 2 years? What do you think about that?
I think it's great. I just I'm nervous for our son. I'm just nervous that I can't leave my children or not be around my children as much because they need me, especially during this time. But I am also like fearful because of my son's previous medical conditions that something may happen and I'm not going to be there.
Okay.
Okay, okay.
Hold on. Do you have anything else to say, Lois?
No, let him talk.
Okay. Larry, you can speak.
Okay, so you're saying that you do not want to go to work because you're nervous that you won't be able to spend enough time with your children, right? Our children.
Mm-hmm.
Only, Larry, in mediation, sometimes it's normal to summarize, and that's good for what we're doing. But, just say what you're going to say. Like, don't say, like, this is what you're saying. If you have you can ask her the question, but you don't want to put the words from her mouth. That's one of the rules of mediation.
Okay, why are we getting divorced?
Because you're not home enough.
Okay, so you just said that you're afraid to go to work because you're nervous about leaving the kids unattended and not spending enough time with them. And I've created that situation for you through our marriage by sacrificing my time with the children so you can stay at home with them. And I'm like the breadwinner of the family and you're the caretaker the majority of the time.
Lois, do you agree with that statement?
I agree with him saying he's the breadwinner, but that is because he chooses to, I guess, to further himself in his career when there can be a middle ground where he is still at home enough for his family and we're still making a means and surviving.
Okay.
So a marriage is not just being home for me, it's also your children.
Do you feel like it's an accurate assessment that you maybe lack the confidence to go to work?
Larry?
I feel like that's not a proper question. You can't ask that.
Larry?
That's a jab.
Hold on. Me and Larry are going to caucus. Lois,
Okay.
if you would mind stepping out of the room for a second.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, Larry. I understand that you're getting frustrated with the issue of maintenance. Is there something maybe that's going on that you don't want to tell Lois? Everything that we do say is confidential.
Well, this whole situation is just a slap in the face. I feel like I'm getting divorced because I don't spend enough time at home, but I'm trying to support a family and I'm sacrificing my time constantly at work.
Okay.
If she thinks I enjoy being at work all the time, that's not the case. It's that I'm trying to provide a good life for my family and my wife. So, I mean, there's other things that could have happened to I guess, save our marriage is the way I feel. Whereas if maybe she got a job and we were both working and then I was able to spend more time with the kids, it maybe works out a little bit better.
Yeah,
But
that's a great idea.
obviously, I feel like I've sacrificed a lot with our family, and I don't know.
What's your let me stop you there. What's your biggest fear entering into mediation? What's the worst that could happen?
Divorce?
Divorce, just a divorce in general?
Yes.
Like, what about with issues of your parenting and maintenance? Or let's just talk about maintenance, alimony. What's your worst fear about maintenance?
I've seen bad cases where people get stuck paying alimony for a long time and then it's taken advantage of.
Okay.
And I feel like beyond 2 years, I feel like that gives a person enough time to finish college, finish school, and I'm willing to pay for the school. And she needs to understand, or I feel on my end, that she should be able to understand that there's got to be some concessions on both ends. Like,
Absolutely.
she's going to have to get a job eventually. What am I supposed to do, support her entire life?
Yeah, that's a reasonable fear. So what we'll do is, we'll call Lois in here, and we'll state what you feel, and then tell me what you feel is reasonable. And then we'll let Lois say how she feels, and what she feels is reasonable. So we'll have all these options on the table. We don't have to use them at any time. If you throw out an option, even if it's one way or another, nothing's set in stone. Everything that you say, this is mediation, of course, nothing's set in law. This is just for things for you guys both to think about. Maybe you can broaden your options or broaden your answers. Alright, so we'll call Lois in here.
Okay.
Lois! Alright, Lois, so I spoke to Larry in caucus in private. It wasn't anything to yell at him or reprimand him. It was nothing bad. It was just kind of just to see what his issues are.
Okay.
And where he stands on certain things. So we kind of know how Larry feels from what he told us previously. He said that he wants to offer you 2 years of alimony, and he wants to offer you to pay for your school and your education.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know you're a teacher, but you just need 2 years of your teacher's license back, and he is willing to pay for that. So tell me, what do you want out of mediation, out of maintenance? Lois.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me, what would you like for What would you like for maintenance?
I mean, realistically, we've been married so long, and for me to just jump back into things and think that I can, I don't know. I'm just really worried about starting work again right away. Like,
Okay, that's normal.
Maybe like 5 years. I need some help. Like once I get my licensing again. Like who knows what's gonna happen with the kids? Like, I'm just nervous about how they're going to react, and I want to be there. Of course, like, I know I can't expect him to do everything with the house, and I'd be willing to compromise in order for us to keep the house and not have to split it, because I really want to keep the kids there.
Let me stop right there. You said something really important that I want Larry to focus on. She said that she appreciates that you're doing a lot and that you have that. She doesn't want you to do everything, and she's willing to compromise. Did you hear that, Larry?
Yes.
Okay, so say you want 5 years of maintenance. Let's just put that on the table. Is that something that you're willing to accept, Larry?
No, I feel like that's way too extended of a period of time to be paying for somebody else.
5 years?
There's some inconveniences in life. I mean, that's what life is.
Mm-hmm.
It's full of inconveniences. I feel like I'd be willing to compromise a little bit, but I said 2 years. I'm paying all of her expenses, and I'm also paying for her the entirety of her school. So that gives her the greatest opportunity to get a job and provide for herself. Yes, I guess it sucks that she's going to be a single parent and have to work and find a way for somebody to watch the kids or whatever. At least they're older now, to where they'll get to the point after she's finished with school in a couple of years. They'll be older, a little bit more self-sufficient, maybe a little more independent, and she can afford to hire a babysitter or something like that. But that's what happens when you get divorced. I mean, there's going to be inconveniences on both ends, and we're both going to have to deal with them.
So I think you guys can both agree that you do agree that there should be some kind of maintenance.
Yes.
But you can't agree on the length. And you're mostly worrying about expenses. Maybe there's something that we can do to reduce expenses. Can anyone think of any ideas to reduce expenses? Maybe Lois, you can get a part-time job.
Yeah, I mean, with at least like the 2 years of maintenance.
Okay.
We can figure something out, and like the interim, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, part-time job's fine. I mean, of course, my kids need to see that I'm also working and that I'm able and capable of doing that. They're getting older, so I'm not really I need to get back in the workforce.
Absolutely. Okay, well, like I said earlier, I told Larry this, and I don't think you were in the room, but the purpose of mediation is we kind of want to broaden the answers. We kind of want to create options for you guys both. Any ideas that you say, you shouldn't be too worried, because nothing's set in stone. This is mediation. This is to help you two decide what you want to do. So, right now we have 2 years of maintenance plus educational costs. Okay, let's go on to the next topic.
Okay.
And then we'll shelve the maintenance. We'll see if we can agree on that later. But we'll go on to child support. So let's start with you, Lois. Lois, what do you want from child support?
You know, like by law, what do I get? What am I supposed to get for 2 children?
By law, it is 25% of Larry's income.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, this is mediation. There is some deviation from that if you guys choose to accept.
Is that per child?
No, 25. It's 20% for 1 child, 25% for 2. That's Illinois law. It's a statutory law.
Okay, so please explain this to me. So
Mhm.
I have to give 25% of my pay. So let's just say, for argument's sake, I make $100,000 a year. I have to give away 25% of my pay for the children, right? So now that cuts me down to $75,000 a year in annual salary. I now pay for her to go to school, and I also pay her alimony. Which what would you consider that to be roughly? About another 25% for alimony?
Well, this is going to be, if it does go to court, this is a judicial decision. The judge has full say on what percentage of child support, but he's also going to include, he's going to look at everything. He's going to look at medical costs, he's going to look at educational costs, so that 25% is just a guideline. That's not it's not an exact science, and I'm not in a position really to tell you as a mediator. I don't want to give you false information. What I want you to do is I want you to consider, what are you willing to give up? And I just want to know, what do you want? So what do you want from child support? How much do you think that you should give?
Well, giving up half my salary is not something I'm willing to do if I
Okay.
include child support and I include alimony. That's just getting to the point where what am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to starve so I can support 2 separate households because she can't find a part-time job or a full-time job?
Okay, like we don't know if she can or cannot find a full or part-time job. So we'll save that comment. Okay, so do you think you should pay anything for child support?
Yes, of course, they're my children. I'm willing to pay for child support, but I feel like 25% is a little bit excessive. I will be willing to pay for the children's school, and outside of that, I don't really know where the funds will be allocated, whether it will go to her or it will actually go to my children. So that's a huge concern with me, that my money is going to benefit her personally and not my children. So
Okay.
schooling, I figure, because they go to private schooling, is roughly about $15,000 a year. So
Yeah.
$15,000 pays for roughly 15% of it.
Mm-hmm. But they don't have to go to a private school.
They don't.
Those resources could be allocated elsewhere. Okay, so
Just trying to be nice.
so college is going to be coming up soon for Carrie.
Mhm.
I believe she's 13.
Mhm.
Have you guys talked about that with her?
Yeah, I mean, she still has high school to do, so we're preparing her, just saying, the high school's really important, and
Mm-hmm.
she really needs to not so much pressure her where she needs to go and things like that, but yeah, of course, she knows what's coming and that she needs to be a little more serious entering high school. I don't really know exactly where we're going to be or what we're going to be doing at the time that we're here, so.
Okay. Have you thought about are you guys going to support her for college? Do you plan on paying for her?
Right now, since we're here, I guess that question is more real, so I would say no.
Okay.
We'd probably help her with
Yeah.
finding out loans and things like that.
Do you agree with that, Larry?
Yes, I feel like an Ivy League school is kind of out of the question when it comes to the amount of money we make. She can also take out loans for herself and things like that. We will assist her in any financial way possible, but it's obviously going to be kind of a thing when it gets closer to that time that we'll figure it out.
Okay, let's talk about medical insurance. Whose insurance are the children going to be covered on?
They can go under mine. I have no issue with that.
Okay, and do you have medical insurance by your position, your job?
Yes.
And what about any other extracurricular activities?
I mean,
Do your kids go to like summer camp? Because this is all things that
Yeah.
we have to consider. I know it seems minuscule in detail, but are they in any camps, baseball, hockey?
yeah, of course, right, the older they get, the more things they like to do,
Yeah.
so, yes, they are in a lot of extracurriculars, and
Okay.
we're going to have, those are considerations,
Because I think
Sure.
you told me earlier that John plays soccer.
yes.
Right.
Yeah, so, knock on wood, everything's okay with his medical conditions, and we don't have to worry about that, but, yeah,
Okay.
he's gonna be doing soccer camp.
And are you gonna use the money from the child support to pay that, or the maintenance, or your own part-time job, or is Larry gonna pay for that?
I mean, realistically, once we make the decision and how things are going to get split up with the house and
Mhm.
who's going to pay the majority
Right.
of that, then I'll just decide I'm not going to put myself first before my children, so.
Okay, yeah,
I want
absolutely.
to get that.
So we have the issue here, it's child support. So you are willing to pay child support, but you don't want to pay too much.
My issue is everything in its entirety. Like child support or alimony, it kind of all bundles together. It's how much money I'm actually putting out that I have to look at. Obviously, my first concern is going to be my children, not to support her financially, but obviously she's the mother of my children, and if she hurts, they hurt. So I'm willing to work things out, but to a certain extent, I will not be taken advantage of.
What are you willing to give up to make Larry feel comfortable paying you child support and maintenance?
What am I willing to give up?
Like maybe you want maybe less years in maintenance, or you want less in child support, or more in maintenance.
I mean, if I have to take a part-time job and do something so that we can keep the house is really important to me,
Yeah.
so
Okay,
I,
since you mentioned it, let's talk about it. So, what property do you guys have? You could start there.
our home,
And just one home?
yes, just one. I think it like recently got appraised for like 260 something, and then we have our car.
And was that appraised? I think on this paper it says 268,000. That was the form that you filled out.
Mm-hmm.
Was that appraised this year?
Yes.
And did you also get it appraised separately, or was that together? Do you agree with that evaluation?
Yes, that's accurate.
It is accurate. And how much did you pay for the house?
I think it was like 225, and I think we owe like 195 roughly on it.
Okay.
I don't know.
We got
So,
like 73 grand in equity in the house.
and who's staying in this house right now?
She is.
Where?
Okay.
With the, well, me and the kids.
Mm-hmm. And you're comfortable letting them stay in the house?
No. Well, if she can financially support the household, I'm all for it. But if I have to pay for the house as well, then no. I want to just split everything and split all assets that we do have, so there's no issue later.
Can you afford to pay the mortgage by yourself?
Not right now. No, I can't. But I think it's going to be really important to my kids. So of course I'm going to have to find a way. That's why we're here, to figure something out.
Yeah.
So I guess so.
Okay, so there's two options what people can do. Either one option is, have you guys talked about actually selling the house and splitting the you could split the profit, because if it's worth 268 and you owe what did you say, Larry, earlier?
195. I believe.
195. So that would be $73,000, not counting closing costs and everything. Is that something that you'd be comfortable with, selling your home?
No, I don't. The house, no, it's not an option. I really feel like there's an attachment there. The kids grew up there. We live in a great neighborhood. Like, all their friends are around there. It's a really important time for them. They're almost teenagers. I guess I'll do whatever I need to do.
Guess what?
To keep it, or something with maintenance, maybe. I'm not sure. After
Okay.
maybe 2 years, or
Yeah.
I am willing to try, because again, like I am going to go back to work eventually. It's going to happen.
So this is a huge concern for me now. This is exactly what I'm talking about where my funds are being allocated. Now I'm going to give her maintenance, and I will also give her child support. If she can't financially afford the house and she's using my child support to pay for the household, that's not okay with me. And what do you expect me to do? Am I supposed to live in a 1-bedroom apartment while you keep a nice house that I worked hard for, and you had no financial stake in? Like, I paid for that house. I bought it.
Okay, Larry. That's a valid point. Larry, I see that you really care about how much money that you're going to have.
Yes,
Is
I
that
want a
true?
good lifestyle to live still. I still want a decent living.
You're
I don't
going
want
to
to
be
go
part
to
of
work as much as I do.
How much money do you make, Larry?
125,000 approximately.
Okay, and are you comfortable making 125,000 right now? Can you live
No.
in a lifestyle
If-
that you're comfortable with?
Alright, to be totally honest, what's going to happen is for me to be able to see my kids on the weekends,
Mm-hmm.
I'm obviously going to sacrifice and pay, because my billable hours are obviously going to go down, because I can't put in Saturdays anymore, because I'm going to spend them with my children. So
Okay.
my salary is going to go down substantially. So this is kind of my concern as to another thing that worries me is if we were to go to court and they base it off my current salary of 125,000, and then it goes down to just say 100,000 or 75,000. Then what?
Okay.
I'm stuck putting out all this money, or does it get reassessed, readjusted? I don't know. I don't really know the legal standpoint of my actual salary and what I have to pay out. So
Yeah.
that's a huge concern for me.
Are you in line for any promotions soon that are coming up? Maybe is there any increase in your income?
There may be, but I can't count on that
Yeah.
until it actually happens.
Okay. Okay, and how do you feel about that? Do you think Larry could afford maintenance and child support and still live a comfortable lifestyle? Is there something you're willing to help him with that?
Is there something that I'm willing to what?
Do you are you willing to work or to reduce expenses maybe?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we have a car that I use most of the time, but you know, I'm
Okay.
sure we can figure out something with like bus schedules or.
Do you just have one vehicle? Do you have just
carpooling.
one vehicle?
Yeah, we have one, and then he takes public transportation.
How much do you owe on that car?
I don't know, maybe like 10 something.
Okay, I see.
Ten
I could look at
grand.
your financial information. It says here 10 grand.
Oh. there you go.
And what have you guys agreed on anything to do with the car?
She can keep the car, but she's gonna have to take over the payments.
Okay, and how much are the payments?
$250 a month.
We have payments for $250 a month. All right. So we do have some issues still, but let's get into a couple of things. Do you have a 401k at your job?
Yes.
And how much is in your 401k?
$120,000.
120,000. And are you willing to give Lois any of that 401k? Does she have a stake in any of that?
I don't believe so. That's for my retirement.
Okay.
That's saved for later years. We're no longer together.
And Lois?
That's something she's gonna have to look forward to, on her own. I mean, why are we getting divorced here? She's the one choosing to get the divorce, not me.
Okay.
And it's because I'm not at home. So my job has costed my marriage, and now I have to pay her through my job for my retirement.
Let me,
Why does that seem fair?
That's a fair point. Let me have a caucus with Lois, and we'll call you back in. So Lois, thank you for being so patient.
Yeah.
But understand that most divorces like this, it's usually one couple wants to stay together and one couple doesn't. And just from our observation, it seems like Larry is willing to try and work back together. Is that an option for you?
Honestly, I don't know. I don't really.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is all confidential.
Yeah, nothing
So
that everything
really
that's said in this
nothing
caucus,
at all.
Larry will not know unless you want to tell him.
I'm just like really torn right now because so I met this guy
Mm-hmm.
and his name is Tony.
Okay.
I don't know. Okay, so my parents are just horrible. Like they've never really wanted me to be with Larry, and
Yeah.
now they're super excited that I finally, decided to get a divorce from him because they've always thought that he just wasn't good for me or a good like role model or
Yeah.
influence for my children because as a father figure, like he was just never home. He just worked too much, and
Yeah.
I mentioned earlier, it's just that's not what a husband or a father should be.
Mhm.
Just gone. He needs to also make time. But now they're just like pressuring me to kind of stick with this divorce or else they're not going to help me. So say if I do need help later and who knows what ends up happening, I don't want to agree to saying that I'm going to get a job right away
Okay.
and like lessen his expenses.
Mhm.
I'm not like money hungry, but I also don't want to be struggling with my kids and then have all this stress of the world on me, So my parents really just want me to like get a divorce from him and stay with this new guy, but of course it's my husband still. Like
Yeah.
I'm frustrated right now. This is not
Mm-hmm.
easy.
It never is.
This makes us hate each other. So
Okay, well that kind of helps clarify some things now. I knew there was some kind of issue behind your reluctance, and I could see that you're struggling with some of these decisions, and it makes sense with your parents, and I know that's a lot of pressure. But the good thing is mediation's nothing's final, so if you guys didn't want to get a divorce, you could always not get a divorce. That's why we're in mediation.
right.
Alright, so we'll call Larry back in here, and we'll try to work out the rest of our issues.
Okay.
Larry, enter. Alright, Larry, so we hammered out all the issues, so we just have a couple left. What's the most important issue between parenting? We solved that.
Well, have we really solved them?
I think Lois said she was willing to let you pick the kids up on Friday afternoon
Okay.
until further notice.
Okay.
So
does that include the Wednesdays during the week for a night? For like dinner or something?
Yeah. Well, I mean, of course they want to see you. I don't want to keep you away from them. So
So the next issue that we had was maintenance or alimony. So what Larry was proposing is 2 years and he'll pay for your school.
Okay.
Lois, what you said is you want it 5 years of maintenance and pay for your school. And since you had some time to think about it, is there any compromise to that?
5 years I feel like is unacceptable. I feel
Okay.
like that's really excessive. I'd
That's
be
fine.
willing to do, max I would be willing to do is 3 years. I feel like that's fair, more than fair.
Did you hear that, Lois? Larry was willing to do 3 years and compromise.
Fine. That's fine.
So you would be willing to do 3 years. And you seem reluctant to do it, and we'll just throw these ideas out there because we need a baseline to work off of.
Oh, okay.
So if you're fine with 3, you could say that, but at any time, you could think about it in next mediation session if you're uncomfortable with it, looking at your paperwork, and if you're not happy with it, you could always change it. And keep that in mind too, Larry.
So we'll have, so once we're done, you'll give us what we've talked about, or is this just?
Absolutely, yes.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Also with that 3 years that I'm considering, that means 2 years of schooling still and then 3 years of alimony.
Okay.
I'm not going to support send her to go get her master's degree if that's what she chooses to do. That's something she'll do on her own.
So the next issue that we're going to have is child support. So you are willing to pay, but you don't know how much because you want it to be tied in with maintenance. But I will tell you, Larry, that if you do go to court, the court is going to separate it. That's why we're in mediation, and you have Lois here, and to decide what you want to do with it. So let's just throw your idea out there. You don't have to stick to it. If Lois feels uncomfortable with it, that's fine. You could always change it. Or if you feel uncomfortable with it, you don't have to change it. So what are you willing to pay for child support? By law, it is 20%. 25% for 2 children. I misspoke. That's not including your maintenance. But you could bargain. Maybe, I'll just throw this idea out there. Maybe you don't have to sell the home and you would be willing to give 20% child support along with 3 years of maintenance. So you kind of bargain what matters more to you.
Well, see, I feel like we need to still hammer out details on maintenance because that can still 3 years. What is the maintenance that I'm paying? Because if I send her to school, we still have to figure out what kind of school she's able to go to. Because she could choose to go to ASU and then spend $40,000 a year that I have to pay for, and that's half of my salary for the year. Or she can choose to go to a community college. So that's kind of a huge issue that's still going on in my head right now that I feel like we have to deal with before we get to child support. Actually, child support I'd be willing to do 25% if we kind of adjust the alimony aspect. I want my kids to be supported, so that's not an issue with me. I don't need to compromise on supporting my kids.
And we already hammered out the details on education and medical.
Yeah.
Extracurricular activities, we also did that too. So Lois, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about 25% child support?
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. It's all just, if that's what's supposed to be given, then I guess that's fine, and
Okay.
we'll have to figure things out. Like once I start school, I'm confident enough that I can still hold a job. It's just the idea of all of this happening and going back out.
So that's another question I have. Okay, so she goes out and finds a job and she ends up making $50,000 a year. I'm making $100,000 a year, and I'm giving her 50% of my salary. So now I'm stuck with $50,000, and she's getting $100,000 for making half of what I make. Why is that fair? When does she lose it?
That's a great question, Larry, and there is laws for that. It's called change of circumstances. We're going to actually change maintenance based on a change of circumstance, and a new job is a change of circumstance by the court. But we haven't got to that point yet, so that's a valid concern, and I understand it. But once it happens, there is a legal remedy for it. But again, you guys can also return to mediation and disclose that information, and then you can also work out those details together. Because the good thing about mediation is you're only paying one mediator. If you went to court, you're paying 2 divorce attorneys, and then you're paying for all these filing documents, and you can't do it on your schedule, do it on the court's calendar schedule.
Okay, but
I know it's a concern.
well, no, that's a big concern because am I privy to the information that she has a job? What tells me? How do I know? Who do I go to for that? If I find out she's working, or she tries to hide it from me, maybe I don't know she's working. So how do I say I catch her 3 years down the road and she's been making $50,000 a year? What do I do then?
Is there reasons why you think that Lois would lie to you and not tell you?
We're getting divorced. Obviously, there's some animosity between us, and I'm just trying to deal with every aspect so I protect myself.
Lois, would you tell Larry if you got a job and when you disclose how much income you had?
Sure.
Lois said that she'd be willing to do that, Larry.
This is mediation. I mean,
Uh-huh.
okay, she can lie to your face right now. She's been lying to me for how long, telling me she loves me. Now we're getting divorced, so
Yeah. Well, we would have tax documents because I have your tax documents and I know how much you make. So there is that, unless she's lying to the IRS, which I don't think Lois would do that. But
we're just here in mediation. This is okay. This isn't my concern. So we walk out right today. 50% is what I choose to give up to support her, right? And a year down the road, she has a $50,000 a year job. You're not my mediator anymore, and there's nobody watching over us. So why would you have access to that information? And what do I have to do? Say that I'm suing her again because I think she's working, or how do I go about that? That's like my biggest concern.
yeah, well, you could always hire an attorney and you could subpoena those documents if you felt that there'd be a change in maintenance, because maintenance is court ordered. So if it's court ordered, you would have privileges to subpoena.
Okay.
Okay, so that's a concern. All right, so we have the maintenance, we have child support 25%, that's tied into the maintenance for 3 years. The vehicle, I think you were both satisfied with that. I think you were satisfied by letting Lois keep the vehicle if she made the payments. And is that something that you're willing to do?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the last thing that we have to talk about, just to put the issue out there, it's something for you guys to think about for next time. Property. I know you want to sell the property, and I know it's important for Lois to actually keep the property for the children.
Mm-hmm.
So, since you had a second to think about it, was there anything else, a creative option that you could think of with the house?
Is the property going in her name, or is it staying in both of our name?
That's a good question. That's up to you guys.
Okay, well, she's not financially capable of taking out a loan at this moment, correct? Because she obviously isn't working, so I would assume that she's not going to be able to take out a loan for $250,000 to take over the payment. So that's going to be a huge issue, because now what is it supposed to do? Stay in my name?
Yeah.
And I'm supposed to trust that she's paying the bills on the house?
Mm.
So then that's my credit on the line
Yeah.
that I have to deal with if she doesn't pay the payments.
Lois,
So,
would you have anybody that would be able to co-sign with you for the rest of the mortgage? Do you have like parents or somebody?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, my parents would be able to help me, absolutely.
Okay.
well, I guess that's an issue that we'll have to hammer out when they find out if her parents are willing to sign a document that says she's going to take over the house.
If they-
Until then no, I am not willing to keep the house.
Well, let's say they are. Would you be willing to let her keep the house?
Sure, she's taking over the payments completely, and then I want 35,000 or
Okay.
37.5, whatever half what the 75 is. I want my portion of profit.
So this is an important issue right here. You're willing to let her keep the house, but you want $37,000 of the profit.
Yes.
Okay. So Larry said that he's willing to let you keep the house if you give him $37K. Is that something that you would agree to? From the equity?
Sure, I mean, in the end, we still have to go through court and do the child support and maintenance and things like that, so that's fine.
You could actually do all of that through a mediator. So you could actually do all those details here with me. You don't have to do them in one session.
Uh-huh.
This is a long process.
Okay.
Because you guys have a lot. You guys have a house, you have 2 kids,
Right.
you have maintenance, you have child support. So there's no way we could possibly do this in one session.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is I just want to get ideas rolling in your guys' head. I want you guys to think of options. I want you guys to try to dictate your own schedules and dictate your own terms. Something that you're comfortable with, Larry. And something that you're comfortable with, Lois.
Okay.
So everything we said here today, it was a great start. We have a baseline for everything. We have a baseline for maintenance. We have a baseline for child support. We figured out what we want to do with the vehicle, so we already solved one issue. We figured out what we want to do with the child support and the parenting schedule. And that's a huge issue. So next time, we'll just try to really, next week, I'll give you guys a homework assignment. And it'll be to think about maintenance, child support, and the property.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you. And it was nice meeting you, Larry. Take care. I'll see you next week.
All right.
Lois, take care. I'll see you
Thank
next week.
Nice meeting